Produced from 1983 to 1987, the Honda ATC200X carved out a place in ATV racing history unlike any other entry-level sport ATV since. The 200X was a fun, reliable, and affordable three-wheeler out of the box that garnered lots of aftermarket support for upgrades.
The Honda ATC200X just may be one of my all-time favorite products ever made from Honda. I love that machine and still do. Just overbuilt, over-engineered, so well done. And I ended up with 4 200Xs back then. First one was an '84, and it did everything that Honda said it was going to do and more.
At that time, Honda understood the importance of a thriving entry-level sport ATV segment, bringing younger riders and racers into the sport. This was a big reason that Factory Honda was so involved in supporting 200cc Pro Class racing. Top pros like Curtis Sparks, Tommy Guillen, Steve Wright, and Mickey Dunlop added legitimacy to the little 200X as a race machine, providing younger riders and racers with pros they could look up to and a level of racing to which they could aspire.
I used to race it at Deerfield, and actually better than most kids' high school jobs, I would go to Deerfield and make $200-300 every Saturday night, and just racing the three-wheeler around. Just racing in the stock class, didn't even have a bunch of mods to it.
With ATC250R and 350X motocross projects in the books, and our Classics ATC200X test receiving over 1 million views so far, it's past time for us to see how far we can take the 200X for the track without wrecking its vintage appeal. Our project machine is the Gen 1 1984 ATC200X featured in our Classics test series. We selected the first generation 200X due to its greater horsepower potential for racing. Very important in a class with limited horsepower, where every pony counts.
We did a magazine article on the 85 200X versus the 86. And the 86 had great suspension, but the head design on it didn't allow us to make the horsepower, so we were down 2 or 3 horsepower, about 10%. And I thought I could win on it on the rough motocrosses like the ORV Park is the first time I raced it there, and the suspension didn't do me any good. The horsepower is still a key factor.
Mud Motorsports, located in Martinsville, Indiana, has a lot of experience building custom race quads and are a great place for help building a new or vintage ATV. They completed the final assembly, checked things over, and got the trike dialed in for testing. For the test, we met up with rider John Pellin at Briarcliff MX in Nashport, Ohio. We utilized some of the less technical sections of their main track, a favorite among ATV racers, along with their vet track, consisting of more forgiving doubles and tabletops. Both tracks were plowed deep, really putting our ATC200X's upgraded engine, suspension, and handling to the test. John did sneak onto the water truck track surrounding the vet track to feel out our trike's handling on some dry, hard-packed turns, which is more in line with the conditions a three-wheeler excels in. Handling and suspension are the starting point when building any race machine, especially a three-wheeler. With a straight crack-free chassis and plans to pump up the engine, we thought having the frame gusseted was a good idea. HRE manufactures chassis and other parts for vintage and modern ATVs. They went to work, adding a substantial number of gussets to the frame, addressing its known weaknesses while improving its overall strength and rigidity. We then had it powder-coated. To improve high-speed stability, make the back end easier to break loose, and maximize front-end grip, we installed a +2-inch swing arm from HRE. The added length also slightly increases rear suspension travel. The robust-looking swing arm is made in the US of 4130 chromoly. we ordered ours to work with the stock 200X brakes and axle carrier, with a black and silver vein powder coat finish. HRE also offers swing arms with round housing chain adjustability that are compatible with TRX 450R brakes. Fortunately, we'd purchased a brand new PRM frame and swing arm skid plate just prior to the family retiring and closing the business. The stock broken grab bar was replaced with a DG Alloy Series aluminum grab bar. It's light, features a whip flag mount, and fits well. Using offset wheels or wheel spacers to widen the back end for improved stability increases leverage on the stock axle. While you might get away with this on a TT build, if you're planning on jumping, you're only increasing the chances of bending or breaking the axle. Durablu continues to offer their Eliminator axle for the ATC200X, which we installed on our machine. It's constructed of chromoly and zinc plated for corrosion resistance. Claimed to be 4 times stronger than stock, it's covered by a limited lifetime warranty against bending or breaking. The Eliminator axle goes through a number of heat treatments to maximize strength. Its adjustable width allows you to add up to 2 inches per side or 4 inches overall. The axle includes wheel hub spacers for adjustment, Durablu's Posi-Lock lock nut, and a new sprocket hub. For longevity, the rear end was assembled with a new Tusk axle bearing and seal kit. With a lightweight aluminum stock front wheel in excellent condition, we utilized it, wrapping it in a 23x8x11 Kenda Max tire. Long vertical knobs allow the tire to cut through deep loam or mud. The knob surface is grooved vertically, providing additional biting edges on hardpack. Wanting to keep rotating mass down and strength up, OMF built us a set of DWT's lightweight Blue Label 8-inch rear wheels. OMF installed a set of their lightweight reinforcing rings on the inside and outside edges to reinforce the beads, making them stronger yet very light and cool to look at. We wrapped them in a set of 18 by 9.5 by 8-inch Kenda Scorpion tires. They feature diamond-shaped dimpled knobs that offer more forward and braking bite with less traction on side loads, allowing them to slide a little easier than most modern sport ATV tires.
This machine, I'll talk a little bit about it. I think it was pretty well done. The main thing I'll take out of it was the suspension and of course the swing arm and the axle. Having a wider axle, that is huge for being stable on a 3-wheeler.
The longer Durablu Eliminator axle greatly improved stability in corners. The wider stance reduces weight transfer, making power slides easier. It also makes the 200X more manageable in uneven bumps. HRE's plus 2-inch swing arm performed as we'd hoped. It transferred more weight to the front tire, improving front-end grip and steering predictability, especially with a full-size adult rider. The transfer in weight bias reduced the weight over the rear wheels, making the back end easier to slide through turns, essential for going fast on a 3-wheeler. The added wheelbase improved high-speed stability.
Tires were good, didn't roll or anything like that. Not much to say about them other than I liked that they weren't rolling on me. They had good traction and everything. It was real grippy out there today, so you had to work to get a good lap in.
The Kenda Scorpion tires delivered great grip under acceleration and braking. The deeply plowed tracks made breaking the rear end loose harder than usual with these tires. If the track surface is hard packed, loose over hard, or slightly loamy, the Scorpions slide easily and predictably, still delivering excellent acceleration and braking. The Kenda Max front tire delivered excellent directional control and braking in all conditions. With motocross intentions and a plus 2-inch swing arm, the suspension demanded attention. Race Tech did an incredible job with our ATC250R and ATC350X motocross projects years ago, making them the obvious choice to handle the 200X. We had them set up both ends for a 200-pound expert-level motocross racer. Race Tech tore down and inspected the fork and shock. Starting up front, they installed their gold valve emulators, which mimic the performance of a cartridge fork. Race Tech's emulators separate out the compression and rebound circuits, allowing them to custom tune each individually for the significantly stiffer fork springs. The fork stock dual spring setup features a 449mm 0.85 kg mainspring and an 84mm 0.64 kg secondary spring. They shortened the secondary spring from 84 to 40 millimeters, increasing its rate to 1.34 kilograms. This transferred bottoming resistance from the primary to the new, stiffer secondary spring. Overall, fork spring rate increased from 0.76 kilograms to 1.095 kilograms. The fork conversion was wrapped up with 10-weight fork oil, new dust seals, and bushings. The shock received a Race Tech gold valve piston, providing unrestricted oil flow to prevent high-speed harshness, while placing all of the damping duties on their custom-built shim stack. The shock was valved to control the stiffer 21.4 kilogram spring, up from the 18.97 kilogram stock spring. The conversion was wrapped up with fresh oil, dust seals, and a new bottom-out bumper.
Suspension was very good. I was very impressed with the Race Tech front and rear suspension on this old three-wheeler. You don't get a lot on the 200X. So what you do get, you need to make right, and they sure did a good job with that. Some of these jumps we're hitting here, there was hard landings, and if I had a stock setup, I don't think it would have been as fun of a day, that's for sure.
Race Tech's revalve suspension continues to be plush on smaller hits like braking and acceleration bumps, without wallowing deeper in the travel like the stock suspension. The small to mid-sized bump compliance of the Race Tech suspension, combined with a larger footprint thanks to the chassis upgrades, left the 200X feeling more planted in uneven bumps. In stock trim, the back shock tended to bottom a little easier than the forks landing from jumps. However, it was not difficult to find the limits of travel at both ends. The Race Tech upgraded suspension offered a very noticeable improvement in bottoming resistance, but with limited suspension travel, you have to make some concessions between it and small bump compliance. We were happy with Race Tech's balance between the two. John only bottomed the suspension at either end when going a little big on a double he had no intention of clearing, but that's to be expected. The 6.7 inches of rear suspension travel from the factory was increased a bit by the plus 2 inch longer HRE swing arm, although the back end felt like it gained a lot more travel, due primarily to the shock's improved performance. The forks were noticeably improved, but they don't quite deliver the feel of the rear suspension, due primarily to their flexy small diameter tubes and somewhat limited 7.3 inches of travel. Overall, the Race Tech suspension and chassis upgrades had our ATC200X handling night and day better than stock, and ready for additional power. 4-Stroke Tech gave our ATC200X a motor makeover that would have been 200cc Pro Class worthy back in the day. As a top 200 Pro Class racer back in the 80s, we were excited to have 4-Stroke Tech owner Mickey Dunlap handling our engine upgrades. It started with a complete teardown of our engine. In excellent condition, they went to work upgrading and reassembling. To enhance top-end efficiency, 4-Stroke Tech performed their big valve, port and flow, head and valve work, accompanied by a plus 1 millimeter intake valve. 4-Stroke Tech selected their Stage 2 cam for good power gains across a wide RPM range. To allow the valves to keep up with the more aggressive cam, stiffer valve springs were used. Compression was bumped from a mellow 9.6:1 from the factory to a strictly race gas burning 14:1 with the use of a 4-Stroke Tech Stage 2 full race piston. It's lightweight for faster revving while punching harder. With a significant horsepower increase, stiffer clutch springs were installed to prevent unwanted slippage. To feed the thirstier engine, 4-Stroke Tech utilized their 30mm carburetor kit. It comes pre-jetted to match their different engine kits. Air is drawn to the carburetor through the 200X stock intake with the airbox lid removed. A uni-foam air filter provides the flow needed for a race engine, with the fine dust particle protection we aren't willing to sacrifice. 333 Motorsports built a custom exhaust for our 200X built to 4-Stroke Tech specifications to maximize performance with our built engine, sadly unavailable due to their pipe builder passing away. Final drive to the rear wheels was handled by a pair of Sprocket Specialist sprockets. The DuraBlue sprocket hub requires the use of a 1981 to 1982 ATC250R rear sprocket hub bolt pattern. To complement the 18-inch rear tires, we ordered a 12-tooth steel front sprocket and a 36-tooth aluminum rear sprocket. Their steel sprockets are made of premium-grade steel, rolled in the US, CNC machined to exact standards, then case hardened. Their aluminum rear sprockets are made of 7075 T6 aluminum. They're available with a number of tooth counts and finishes. We've trusted Renthal chains for years without failure. Working with a small 200cc engine, we went with Renthal's R1 MX520 chain, a non-O-ring chain designed for this build, due to its reduced friction and drag compared to an O-ring design. Firing it up, the 333 Motorsports exhaust delivered a raspy, snare drum-like 4-stroke sound. It seemed to deliver all of the flow needed by a race-built engine.
All in all, the motor was very impressive.
The 4-stroke Tech engine was the star of the show. Power compared to stock was amazingly different. Low-end power and throttle response were undoubtedly improved. Lugging the engine at gear high exiting corners, it pulls with a bit more authority. The stock linear power band now features a noticeable surge in power entering the mid-range. The difference in mid-range and high RPM acceleration is dramatic. Mid-range power is much stronger, pulling far beyond where the stock engine signs off. Just as noticeable as the increase in power is how much faster the engine builds RPMs from the mid-range through the top end. No longer just a low-end and mid-range lugger. 4-stroke Tech turned this engine into a proper little ripper.
It had a slight jetting issue, but it didn't hinder our ride today that much at all.
There was a small blubber from the engine while weightless in the air flying off of jumps that could be tuned out easily with little more than a float height adjustment in the carburetor. It was not an issue on the ground. Overall, the engine is easier to slide, pulls way harder exiting corners, and is a lot more fun to ride. To match the increased engine power, we felt like we needed to do something with the brakes. We wanted to modernize the 200X controls, so we needed a more modern front brake master cylinder. We acquired a good used 2004 TRX 450R master cylinder from Power Sports Nation. They specialize in quality used ATV parts at a fraction of the cost of new. With the stock brake rotor still in good condition, we installed a fresh set of Tusk brake pads from Rocky Mountain ATV. To improve braking power and accommodate the longer swing arm, Mud Motorsports ordered a set of steel-braided universal brake lines and fashioned them to the proper lengths front and rear, handling installation and bleeding. The result was good stock power and feel, turned up a bit to deal with the extra engine performance. To maximize comfort and control, the contact points were upgraded throughout. Renthal Vintage Desert 7/8" handlebars offer the wider clamping surface needed by many three-wheelers. An 850mm width and relatively straight bend offer plenty of leverage and put your elbows up in the attack position. They've proven durable on other ATC projects surviving rollovers, thanks to their 7010 T6 aluminum construction. For the drier conditions we ride in, we wrap the bars in a set of soft compound Renthal full diamond ATV grips. ASV clutch and brake levers are a part of all of our three-wheeler builds as they're nearly unbreakable in the event of a rollover, thanks to their pivot design which allow the lever to bend in either direction. With a TRX 450R front master cylinder installed for easy aftermarket brake lever integration, we ordered ASV's F4 Series Quad Clutch and Brake Lever Pro Pack for our 200X. Upgraded from the F3 models we used on our ATC builds years ago, they feature forged aluminum construction with stainless steel fasteners used throughout and are covered by an unconditional 4-year guarantee. The Pro Clutch Lever features an ASV rotator clamp, dust cover, and on-the-fly quick cable adjustment. Both levers are rebuildable, featuring precision-sealed bearings at the pivot and chrome silicon high-tension springs. The biggest mechanical upgrade over the F3 are their on-the-fly adjustable micro-indexing dials that allow you to adjust the reach of the lever. They're available in a number of anodized colors and in standard length as we've used or shorty versions. The stock foot pegs were narrow and dull. We swapped them out for a pair of HRE steel foot pegs. They were around twice the width of stock, providing a substantially more supportive platform that disperses impacts over a much broader surface. The teeth are a little on the aggressive side, They've done great on other projects at keeping your feet from slipping, but you wouldn't want to land on one. Cosmic Quads replaced our stock seat foam from 1984 with a new high-flight seat foam. We then had them design a new custom logoed Honda red seat cover to go with it. We started off with a taller desert foam, making it easier to transition from sitting to standing. Test rider John Pellin thought the taller seat would make the machine more difficult to control in corners, so we had Cosmic Quads redo it with a stock height foam and cover. It's the fourth custom seat Cosmic Quads has done for us, and we've been happy every time.
We took off the desert seat. I like that. I didn't like the high up feeling, the tippy feeling. So with the stock setup that we have on the seat here is way better. As far as the ergonomics go on this, is typical Honda. Every time you swing a leg over a Honda, it seems like everything's right, including the thumb throttle, the positions on the levers. We had ASV levers on this, and that was a great addition. They just felt real good in your hands. As did the bars. Had the Renthal Desert Bend bars. It had the HRE pegs, which were the oversized, and they really hold your foot down well, which I appreciated on some of these landings. That's a nice upgrade from the stock pegs. Those are, you know, they've got the good grip too, so it's really holding on to your foot. That's a nice upgrade that I appreciated on the ride.
Maier Manufacturing offers plastic for many vintage applications. Their body parts are thermoformed from TPO polypropylene with a high-gloss cap sheet. It's tough, resisting minor abrasions better than any OEM plastic we've seen. Maier's front and rear fenders fit beautifully. The combination of the wider HRE pegs and Maier rear fenders left the rider's boots a little cramped, so Mud Motorsports trimmed the lower part of the rear fenders behind the rider's legs. We didn't want to trash our valuable stock dent-free factory gas tank in the event of a crash. Clarke has a 3-gallon plastic tank that reduces weight. A new plastic gas cap is included. It is a little taller with its added capacity, but it doesn't look completely out of place on a track machine. However, opinions vary.
I'd rather have the stock tank. I think it looks cooler, but I could see why this was needed. There's no rust going into your motor, because these old tanks, you never know what's inside of them, so that's smarter to have a plastic tank probably. I just like the looks of the old school Honda.
The Clarke tank doesn't seem wider between the rider's legs, so it doesn't impede movement. If you have a rusty old tank, it's nearly a must-have upgrade. In conclusion, the chassis and suspension upgrades from HRE and Race Tech, along with a proper wheel and tire setup from OMF and Kenda, left us with a machine that could easily let a skilled rider ride the 200X far beyond the limits of its stock engine. Our ergonomic upgrades from Renthal, ASV, Cosmic Quads, and HRE left us with an ATC200X we could more easily control for a longer period of time. Fresh brakes from Tusk and Mud Motorsports had our X stopping faster than ever. All of this allowed us to more easily take advantage of 4-Stroke Tech's radical 200X engine transformation. The new look from Maier Plastic and Clarke provided a 200X that's as fun to look at as it is to ride.
My overall opinion of this machine was fantastic. Really well built, power's excellent. It had that grunt that you want from a 200X. It had the suspension and the ergonomics were spot on. Nothing let me down. It really rekindled my love for the 200X because I wasn't out there on a rat trap. It was a fun day. I liked the setup on this machine, felt real comfortable, really well put together. This is a really good 200X. Wish I had this back in the day.
With builds on the Gen 3 ATC250R, ATC350X, and finally the Gen 1 ATC200X, we've had the pleasure of testing and producing full builds on the greatest three-wheelers Honda ever produced. There will be more vintage tests and builds to come, so make sure to subscribe to ATV On Demand. Thanks for watching.